Fine. So I think so it's fine. Let's continue. So yesterday we started with the basic stuff, right? We talked about the AWS. First, we talked about what cloud computing is all about, like the hierarchy of cloud computing. Then followed by the hierarchy of cloud computing. Yes. So yesterday we just started talking. We started with the basic stuff behind AWS. Right. We started learning about what cloud computing is all about. Followed by that, we seen the hierarchy of cloud computing and focused on the deployment models, advantages of cloud computing, and the three different types of cloud services. Then we seen why AWS is much more important in our sections, and followed by we talked about IAM and EC2 stuff. I think so, right? We just talked base about the EC2 stuff and focused more on the what can I say, the security groups and stuff. And I say we ended up the class with that thing. So today we'll continue with EC2 section, right? So just you guys to brush it up, EC2 is an Elastic Compute Cloud. It provides you a virtual servers, virtual instances, virtual machines, where you can able to run your application inside your virtual machines, right? So it's an infrastructure as a service. It's an IaaS type of service where you can able to rent your infrastructure and what AWS will provide is nothing, but it will provide you the visualization, it provides everything else, but like the application data. So that kind of things you are supposed to provide. So let's continue today. So we're going to talk about the EC2 instance types today. So there are different categories of EC2 instance types. Say we do have categories like T2, general optimized, memory optimized, compute optimized, storage optimized. So why this categories has been classified in such a way that based on the type of application what we're gonna run. Say if you're gonna run a simple web application which gonna send some data to the server back to the thing. So it's gonna be a two-way communication from between the client and server. Then it's gonna be good to go. You can use the EC2 using you can use the general optimized. Then based on the depends upon the application, say the application depends upon the other stuff, you can able to use the other kind of application, which will help you a lot in that case too. And followed by that, right, the pricing of EC2 instance type will differ based on the type of EC2 instance type you're going to choose for your application. Let's get into the case. So there are different types of EC2 instances, and we are going to see only the first four, not the first four. General purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, and storage optimized. But we're gonna see we are not gonna see about the accelerated computing instance feature, measuring instance performance on HPC optimized, but because this is out of the scope for right now. This is a demo class. I'm not gonna give you much more let me say overview behind it because you won't understand. But as a beginner, you are supposed to know what is the type of EC2 instance and which type of EC2 instance can be used for which type of applications. So remaining other four, right, the accelerated computing instance features, measuring instance performance and HPC optimized is being covered in the AWS docs. You can able to have a look and make sure to know those things in advance. Okay, and let's talk about the general purpose and compute optimized. As I said, general purpose instance type, which is great for diversity of workloads, such as your web servers and code repos. Say if you're going to work with the client server communication, a simple one-to-one client server communication. So client to server, server to client, where the request and responses are being shared between the client and server. And if you're going to work with any kind of code repositories, a simple code repositories of web applications, right? Then for those things, you can able to use the general purpose instance type. And that general purpose instance type will have a balance between the compute, memory, and what can I say, the compute, memory, and the networking stuff. And guys, if you can't able to hear me, you can able to ping me in the chat or just give a quick note in the chat. But because today I've just changed my mic so that it might be hearable for you, right? And let's go for the next one. So the next one is compute optimized instance type. So the what compute optimized instance type provides is nothing but it provides the high performance processors. Say if you're going to work with the batch processing workloads or in high performance computing, or if you want to have any dedicated gaming service, right? So for those kind of things, you can able to go ahead and use the compute optimized instance types, which comes with a C class. So general purpose instance type comes with a T class, and compute optimized instance type will comes with C class, where we can able to see C2.x large, C2.2x large, stuff like that, which is used for more sophisticated machine learning point of view if you are running any kind of machine learning models or deep learning models. Followed by that, we're gonna talk about the memory optimized and storage optimized. So what memory optimized is all about is that memory optimized is used for workloads that process the large data sets in memory. Say you're gonna work with kind of database applications, which consists of both relational databases and non-relational databases. Or else if you're gonna work with any kind of cache store to make sure that there will be a client cache to retrieve your data carefully, or if you're going to work with some in-memory databases, right, or Redis memory or in-memory databases, which is used for business intelligence, or if you're going to work with the real-time processing, right, so you're going to take a real-time processing of data from IoT devices, and if you're going to work with the big data, which is not structured correctly. So for these kind of application for use case, you can able to go with memory optimized, which comes with a instance class as yeah. So M5.2x large, M5.x large. So we do have those classes. If you have a look at the Amazon docs, I'll just have a look and I'll just show you how it looks. So you could able to see how the different variations of the instance type and class will be looking onto it. All right. So that's all about the memory optimized, and finally the storage optimized. So comparatively, memory optimized and storage optimized have similar use cases, but in terms of storage optimized, we do have the higher frequency and higher efficiency based on the sequential read and write access. Right, so we can able to read and write access where if your application has the relational database applications and where we need to read and write data from the particular databases. So for those kind of use cases, you can use the storage optimized, and more sophisticated, you can going to use for the OLTP, online transaction processing systems. And if you're going to work with relational and NoSQL databases, cache for in-memory databases, for example, Redis, and data warehousing applications and distributed file systems, you can able to use those things for your better point of view. And yesterday we just started with security groups. I'm just going to give you a glance of it. So security groups is nothing but this network security, the fundamental network security of our EC2 instances. It will just intimate you who can able to enter into EC2 instance to access application, who cannot able to enter into the EC2 instance, who can't able to access the application. So which the entry and no entry point of view can be configured through the help of the traffic. So where do you have two types of traffic, inbound traffic and outbound traffic, and this inbound traffic and outbound traffic will contain only allow rules. And moreover, these rules are more specified are referenced by the IP address or by other security rules. The IP can be IPv4 or IPv6. And this is what we said yesterday, and these are the good to know more, and we just talked about it. Now let's talk about the EC2 instances purchasing option. So we do have lot of different types of EC2 instances, right? So I've just listed down the lot of EC2 instances purchasing options, but we need to know, right, like for which use case we supposed to use the which purchasing option. First, let's have a look at the purchasing options, what we are looking over here. So first thing is on-demand instances where which have the short workload, predictable pricing, and pay by segments. So from the word on-demand, you could able to see that based on the demand what you are looking for, you can able to rent the on-demand instances, which is used for short workload, and you can able to predict the price as much as quick as possible, and it can be paid by second. Second thing is going to be reserved, which is going to reserve for 1 to 3 years, where you're going to reserve an instance for an application that reservance will be having for 1 to 3 years. So that might be two kinds of instances, which is reserved instances, which is used for long workloads, and convertible reserved instances. That is, if you have a reserved instances but you don't want to use it more, you can convert the reserved instances to the normal general purpose instances. Now, third thing is all about savings plan. It depends upon the commitment to the amount of usage and the long workload, which can be, what can you say, put into the case of 1 to 3 years. And fourth thing is all about spot instances. So from the word spot instances, what you can able to understand is that on spot. Let's say if you want, you are just deploying an application and you need an on spot instances, which is going to work with some simple workloads, right? So, going to have very short workloads, but it's not going to have a very huge cost. It's very cheap, but I could able to say it's not more reliable. So we can able to lost instances too. So that kind of instance is going to be called as spot instances. And the next one is dedicated host, dedicated instances. Dedicated host is nothing but from the word dedicated is more specified to the personalized one for you. So it will book an entire physical server, the control instance placement for you only, right? And the dedicated instances is nothing but the instances being personalized for you, and no other customers will share your hardware or instances for instances which is being allocated for. Finally, the capacity reservations. So where we can able to reserve the capacity in a specific availability zone for any duration. Now you might got a question. So we could able to see there are a lot of EC2 instances purchasing options starting from on-demand instances, reserved instances, savings plans, spot instances, dedicated posts, dedicated instances, and capacity reservations. So for which purchasing option is right for me, or which purchasing option will be suit for the best use case what I'm working for. So that's is the thing where we're gonna cover that's the thing we're gonna cover in the solution architect point of view. Why? Because for the use case, we are gonna determine what kind of EC2 instance purchasing option will be available. So pretty much excited. So because that is a very huge topic, I'll be giving you one use case. You will be saying what type of instances can be used for what type of use case we are going to give you, right? So now let's continue. Let's start with the storage of EC2 instances. As I said, EC2 instance is a virtual machine which has an operating system, which has an Amazon Linux 2023 AMI, or we'll talk about that. I'll just give you an overview of EC2 instances using EC2 console today, right? So what happens here is nothing but we need a storage to store the EC2 user data or any kind of installed servers inside that particular VM what we are working on. So for those things, we need to have a block type of polybar, because if you get into the operating system, you will be much more focused on the blocked volume storage type. So here in EC2, we do have a block volume storage type called as EBS volumes, which is Elastic Block Store. Okay. And let's talk about Elastic Block Store. Elastic Block Store is nothing but a network drive we can attach to the instances while they are running. So it's what it will do is nothing but you could able to see, right? So it will able to see that you can able to have the data which is needed for your running time for that virtual machine, what you're currently running on it, right? And what happens is nothing but it's a very important use case. Even if you delete the even if you terminate the EC2 instances what you're running, the data captured inside the EBS volumes will not be deleted. In means that the EBS volumes will not be deleted unless until you manually do it, right? Right now, in this case, for the cloud practitioner level, for the basic level, I would say one EBS volume can be mounted to only one EC2 instances at a time, right? One EBS volume can be mounted to one EC2 instance at a time, and make a note that they are bound to a specific availability zone. They'll be available at one specific availability zone only, and make sure that how we can able to think EBS volume is nothing but EBS volume is an analogy of a network USB drive. Say your pen drive, right? You fix a pen drive, the data will be coming from the pen drive to your computer or in the laptop. So the same thing, this network USB drive is nothing but the EBS volume, which gives the data stored by the operating system to run the software which is already there. So for free trial, we do have 30 gigabytes of free EBS storage of type general purpose SSD or magnetic per month. There are a lot of different types of EBS storage, but just for your understanding, free trial, just know that 30 gigabytes is free. And if you want to know the different types of what can you say EBS storage, you need to get into the AWS solution architect point of view, which will be where we will be delving much more deeper inside to it. And getting to know about some important things. Okay, so EBS volume, it's a network drive, but it's not a physical drive. Make sure that it's not a physical device. It's a virtual network drive where this network drive can be, what can I say? You can able to use this network drive to make sure to communicate to the other instances as well. with the help of an internet and make sure that they don't have a little bit, they might be having a little bit of latency to it. And since it is a network drive, I can able to plug out my pen drive from one laptop, and I can able to plug in my pen drive to another laptop. Right? So that's not going to be the big case. I can able to do that thing also. So the same way EBS volumes can also be done. We can able to detach from the another from one EC2 instance and can attach to another EC2 instance quickly, right? And as I already said, it's locked to an availability zone. Say that if an EBS volume in US East 1A cannot be attached to US East 1B EC2 instances. If you want to do that, so you are supposed to snapshot it. Okay, we're going to talk about snapshot and AWS solution architect course, where I'll be drawing diagrams to make sure that how the snapshot has been covered from one availability zone to another availability zone EC2 instances with the architecture overview. And as I said, it has a proficient capacity, say the size in gigabytes or input output operations per seconds. Okay, input output operations per seconds. And you can also increase the capacity of the drive over time, since, as I said, it's elastic. Okay, it's an elastic block store. So it's not going to be fixed. It's elastic based on the use case, what you're working on it. You can able to increase or decrease the size of the EBS volumes by your own. Okay, so this is what EBS snapshots is all about. This I've given you only the basic stuff we could see, right? So what I can do is nothing but I do have two instances. Say in US East 1A, I do have one instance. US East 1B, I do have another instance. Okay, I'll just draw to make sure that. Okay, so I do have a one EC2 instance in US East 1A and another EC2 instance in US East 1B. So the major stuff is all about that. I have attached an EBS volume to one US East 1A EC2 instance. But I do want the same EC2 instance in the second region itself. Okay. But what I can do, I can't able to detach this to attach this. It's not going to be the best use case. What you can do, I can able to snapshot it. That's nothing but the archive part of it. I can snapshot it, and from this snapshot is globally available. Okay, this snapshot is globally available. From this snapshot, we can able to create another EBS volumes which takes the same data about what this EC2 instance has. So this is how we can able to work with EBS snapshots to make sure to make a backup of your EBS volumes, or you want to have a cross availability zone or cross region access of your EBS volumes, right? So this is a bit basic about EBS volumes, guys. Now let's talk about elastic file system, right? You could able to see elastic file system is nothing but like the file system what is being attached to your operating systems. So it's a question for you guys, right? So what is the file system which is being attached to Windows, and what is the file system which is being attached to Linux? Does anyone know those things?
Is it NTFS for Windows?
Yes, it is.
NTFS
It's
back in Windows.
NTFS. Yes, it's NTFS and Windows, the new technology file system. And what are the next? The next in Linux?
EXT.
I'm not getting you. Thank you.
I don't exactly remember. I think it should be EXTs or something. I don't exactly remember that.
Mhm. Any other answers rather than that?
ETRS for
Not much more. Don't delve much deeper into it, but because this EFS has a lot of convenience to work performance. Yes, that's the same thing. What Swapnajit said, right? It's sharing file system within the same network where we'll be using the tree directory, right? You could able to see slash root slash bin slash other stuff, and inside those things we do have other categories of it. So that's how the file system has been categorized in terms of tree structure in Linux file systems. So that's does anyone know about Mac OS? In macOS, what type of file system is there? Does anyone know what type of thing is available in Mac OS? Why? Because I don't know. I haven't used Mac OS, but I'm just asking you whether you guys had an experience of using what type of file system in Mac OS.
It is similar to Windows. I believe it will FAT or XFAT or something like that.
Okay. Similar to Windows in terms that it's the same NTFS file system? No, right?
No, it's not Windows. It's not NTFS. It is FAT.
Fat. Oh, okay, the file using the file allocation table
Yes,
where
yes.
as
So
having assets
they
in by
initially
default.
had FAT and then they changed it to XFAT later on,
Oh,
specifically
yes, it
to.
is. Yes. But right now, Windows is also using FAT, right? Accompanied with NTFS.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yes, yes. Well, because like the newest versions of operating system does also the same thing, right? Well, because only having the NTFS doesn't support much more efficient way to store our files inside the file systems. So they made another approach to make sure that why can't we have a table to organize all those files what is going to be stored inside the file system. So that's the fact. But uh, when I was searched long back, right, I have seen FAT16 and FAT32, but right now I don't know what is the file allocation table version and with the bit version what I have. But good to see that macOS is also using a FAT to organize their files inside their file system, right? So that's the major stuff, right? But why I just asked this question is nothing but right now you're working in an on-premises operating systems, like whether it is Windows, whether it is Linux, whether it is Mac. But right now you are working in an operating system which is available in EC2 instances, right? You have chosen in an EC2 operating system that inside an EC2 instance. But if I want to have a file system for this EC2 instances means, then that file system is nothing but your Elastic file system. Okay. And this managed network file system which can be mounted to hundreds of EC2 instances and make sure that EFS works with Linux EC2 instances in multi-availability zone. Don't think that EFS will not work with Windows, but there are other possibilities like the Luster will be able to work with the Windows stuff, but we are not going to much deeper into it now, right? And the EFS file system, it's highly available, scalable, expensive because it costs more than 3 times than the GP2 version in pay per use, and there is no capacity planning in file system. And moreover, when I choose file system, I'll try to put this diagram in over here. You could able to see what Elastic file system does. So this Elastic file system can be mounted to EC2 instances, AWS Lambda, and other on your on-premises servers too. And it can also be mounted to ECS, EKS, and Fargate. ECS is Elastic Container Service. EK is Elastic Kubernetes Service. Fargate is in no, what can I say? Serverless container deployment service, right? And so what EFS can do something where you can able to test and optimize the workload, move the data from your what can I say on-premises server to the AWS cloud using the file transfer protocols, or you can also share the share and protect your file data which is present inside your EFS point of view, right? So that's all about your EFS. Now let's get into the discussion of elastic load balancing, right? So what elastic load balancing and auto scaling do? Before going much deeper into it, I would like to show you what scalability and high availability is all about, right? Just give me a minute. Yes, guys, let's continue. So before going into the elastic load balancer and auto scaling groups, now let's talk about what scalability and high availability is all about. I don't want to do work on these things, and I would like to get you into the stuff. What scalability is all about, and what is high availability is all about. It's a question for you.
Scalability is kind of dynamic one which can be increased or decreased anytime. That's what scalability is.
Yes, it is where we can able to scalable the resources what we have based on the workload what we are working on it. If the workload needs higher resources, we can able to scale down. And if you want to have a lesser resource, we can able to scale up. So that's the case where we can able to work on it. That's great. And what high availability is all about?
Continuous Availability, anytime it should be available.
Not like that.
No, it's
Okay.
100% available.
Yes, it is 100% available. I'm not saying that it's not 100% available, but what high availability is all about? Any idea?
It's never goes be down.
It's never goes down. Huh.
Should be able to accommodate any number of requests that's coming in and should be
Not
available
like
for
that.
all.
Not like that. Not like that. Let's have a look because the scalability answer is correct. But high availability, what you guys said, right? It's available throughout, it's available throughout, but how it is available? That's the question, right? How it is highly available? Let's have a look, right? So So what you guys said that the scalability based on about the workloads what you're working. So the same thing, if your application or a system can handle great loads by adapting where if you want to have an higher resources, say if your workload has an higher resources, yes, it is. What he said is correct for I available, which is multi-AZ. But I'll give you an overview. Right? Let's see that in a very clear-cut way. Right. So the stuff is that based on the workload what you're working on it. Whether we have to scale up the number of resources or scale down the number of resources, it depends upon the application and based on the loads what the application is getting. So there are two kinds of scalability. First thing is vertical scalability, and second thing is horizontal scalability, which can be much more liberated to elasticity. Okay, and scalability is linked but different to high availability. I'll show you the difference between the scalability and high availability. Now I'm gonna take an example, a use case, say a call center example, and let's see. Let's dive into vertical scalability and horizontal scalability and high availability. This is vertical scalability. Say in a call center, we do have a junior operator, right? To lead him, I need to have another senior operator. Okay. And in to lead the another senior operator, I need to have another senior most high level operator. Say he's at the what may I say in junior operator has a level called as level 6, yeah, level 5, level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. So you could able to see the scalability has been increased vertically by increasing the number of by increasing the rate of the position. So from junior operator to senior, first senior operator, second senior operator, third senior operator, director, manager, director, chief executive officer, founder. So we could able to increase the scalability of this thing. So this kind of scalability is called as vertical scalability, right? So I'm going to give you right now how we can able to relate this example with the EC2 instances scalability. How can you vertically scalable the EC2 instances? Take up the same example. Vertical scalability is nothing but increasing the orderity of the order of the position, say from junior operator to the first senior operator, second senior operator, third senior operator. So you could be able to see to lead each and everything, we are appointing a new, what may I say, higher position staffs like that. So this is called as vertical scalability. Can you able to relate this example with the EC2 instances vertical scalability? Can anyone say how we can able to vertically scalable the EC2 instances? Updating system config? What type of config? You can open your mics and say no issues. Unmute yourself and talk. That will be much more helpful for me. That's okay. You are correct. You are saying in a layman terms. I'm getting you correctly. You are upgrading the system config by upgrading the RAM, upgrading the HDD, upgrading the HDD RAM core, stuff like that. But it come in terms of EC2 instances. Come in terms of AWS EC2 instances.
So do you mean increasing the core CPU?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yes, but because you could able to see, I just give you an example. First, operating system has an i3 version, like i3 version, 10th gen, I would say 10th gen. Then i3 12th gen came, i3 11th gen came, i3 12th gen came. Then up to after i3 i5 came, i5 7th gen came, i5 10th gen came. Now i7, now i9. So it might be going to eye level. You could able to see I'm just increasing the RAM and HDD core of it, right? I'm just increasing the performance, right? How can you relate this example with EC2 instances stuff? Any guess? A little guess will help me a lot, right? But because we talked about, I'll just give you a guess. I'll just give you a clue, right? We talked about the type of EC2 instances, say we given an hierarchy from general optimized to storage optimized to compute optimized to memory optimized, can you able to relate this thing with the vertical scalability stuff? Any idea? Guys, you have any idea?
No.
Okay. So we have seen in EC2 instance type is nothing but the general optimized T2 instance type will be used for a smaller application works. Okay. But after that, we talked about compute optimized, which is C type, which is being used for machine learning type of workloads. Now, what can I do? From junior operator, he goes to the senior operator. From senior operator, he goes to the next level. From next level, he goes to another next level, next level, next level, and goes on, where he's scalable from a smaller position to a higher, biggest position point of view. So based on that, what we can do, we can able to scale up our application from T2.micro to T2.large. Micro, what may I say, large, X large, 2X large. So we can able to move from T2.micro to T2.large, from T2.large to T2.x large, from T2.x large to T2.2x large, right? Which means that we are increasing the size of the instances, not the number of the instances. We are increasing the size of the instances, right? So vertical scalability is not. I would say it's scaling the instance type. Yes, it is correctly, but we could also put it in the case, right? Not only scaling the instance type, having the same instance type, but scaling the amount of thing, like from micro to large to X large to 2X large. Okay, this can also be a vertical scalability. Not from T2.micro to C2.micro is not only the vertical scalability. You can also move from T2.micro to T2.large. From T2.large to T2.x large is also a vertical scalability, right? And when you're talking about vertical scalability, there's usually a limit to how much you can able to vertically scale based on the hardware limit what you have. Now, let's say an horizontal scalability. I've seen 6 people in my company, right? I'll just give you an example. I do have 6 people in my company. This 6 people works in a cloud domain, right? So now one more new person I've recruited, I'm going to put him inside the same cloud domain. Okay. So I could able to see they are working in the team. Okay. The first 6 has been working in a team. Now I recruited 2 more people and I'm going to put it in the same team. All those 8 people, right? Previously it was 6, now it was 8 people are working on the same domain and same thing, right? This is called as horizontal scalability. I'm increasing the number of people working in the company, not the position of the particular person. Here, all of them are in the cloud engineering. He's a cloud engineer, he's a cloud engineer, he's a cloud engineer. Can you able to relate this with the EC2 instances horizontal scalability concept?
Possibly, like for example, if you have a load balancer and we have 3 or 4 systems behind it, and if the loads are increasing day by day, we might increase the scalability by adding 2 more systems to it, stuff like that.
Literally, yes. You said correctly, right? We are just gonna increase the number of EC2 instances here, right? Not the configuration of the EC2 instances, as we can able to increase the number of instances. So horizontal scalability means increasing the number of systems for an application. Okay. Now what we can do when you have an horizontal scalability, can I able to say there will be an high throughput? Can I give you an assurance that can I have a high throughput in horizontal scalability?
Yes, I believe.
Yes, it is. Yes, actually, perfectly yes. Why? Because one work will be done by all those 6 to 8 people. They'll be working under one single project. So if I'm the one who's working in the project for the last, I will take almost 10 months to complete. But if I have a team member of almost 6 or 8 people, the project can be completed within 1 or 1.5 months. So you could able to see the throughput is almost increased, right? So horizontal scalability will implies the distributed system, and this is more common for your web applications or modern application, but because one EC2 instances cannot hold the what may I say things, you can able to work with those things. And it's easy to horizontally scale, but because we do have a service called as auto scaling tools, which can able to horizontally scale up with EC2 instances, thanks to cloud offerings such as Amazon EC2 to do those things too. Now, high availability. From this diagram itself, we can able to understand what we in the comments also we got it right. The multiple availability zone. Say I do have a team, a cloud domain team. A part of a team, three members are working in the New York, and a part of a team, say another three members are working in the San Francisco. First building in New York and second building in San Francisco. Unfortunately, they are working in the same project, guys. They are going to work in the same project. So what happens is nothing but unfortunately a disaster has been came in the New York, right? So unfortunately, the data which is being stored inside their company has been demolished due to the disaster. Now I want to get the data. How can I able to get the data?
So we should have the replication happening on the other so that
Literally, yes, we do have a replication happening in the San Francisco region where those two teams are working, where those all those six are working in the same project, and they also have the accessibility to the data. So what happens? We'll try to have a replication of data towards this thing, and we can able to use the data. So this is called as high availability. Say, so even though one of the region has been completely, what can you say, demolished due to disaster, if we have deployed EC2 instances and if you have replicated the EC2 instances in the second availability zone, then you can able to retrieve the EC2 instances. Okay. Right. So now let's more sophisticated the or the high availability usually goes on hands with horizontal scaling. And for high availability, you need to have at least two availability zones in your region. And the goal of the high availability to survive a data center loss, a disaster. Now, this is what I was just saying, right? So for vertical scalability for EC2 instances from T2.nano to U12GB1.metal, you could be able to see in T2.nano, we do have 0. T2.nano, which is 0.5 gigabytes of RAM with one vCPU, to U12GB1.metal with 12.3 terabytes of RAM with 448 vCPUs. You could able to see the size of the RAM has been increased and the number of vCPUs from T2.nano to U12GB1.metal has also been. So this is going to be called as the vertical scalability. How horizontal scalability is going to be giving? Auto scaling groups is a feature which is available in EC2 instances. We can able to use the auto scaling groups to make sure to work on it, and the load balancer to load the balances coming to the incoming traffic. And high availability, what we can do is nothing but we can able to scale the auto scaling groups to multi availability zone, and load balancer, we can also scale the load balancer to the multi availability zone. Right. So this is stuff like what scalability, elasticity, and agility is all about, as you guys know. Now, what elastic load balance is all about, right? So say if our application running in the backend takes a huge count of incoming traffic. Now, this EC2, this what can I say, servers won't take those huge count of incoming traffic. So we need to balance this huge count of incoming traffic. How we can able to do it? There is a feature called as load balancer, which balances the loads coming from the client side through the internet, right? So this is why we need to use a load balancer, where the load balancer will spread the load across the multiple downstream instances. And if we are using a load balancer, if you are using multiple EC2 instances, say you do have 1, 2, 3, and 4. For each is 4, 3 EC2 instances, we will be having 4 different types of public IPs. If you want to have a one single DNS to access all those EC2 instances based on their availability, then ELB will have a single DNS name. With that DNS name, we can able to access the application. And it will seamlessly handle the failures of downstream instances, will do regular health checkups to ER instances, and provides your SSL termination. As you guys seen yesterday, I've shown you the syllabus of it. We'll be talking about SSL termination with some kind of hands-on towards the right. So this is the high availability zones. And that's all about auto elastic load balancer. Secondly, comes to the auto scaling groups. So this is the maximum size of the auto scaling group what we have, right? And comparatively, what happens is nothing but I need to have what can I say? This is the maximum size. Totally, we do have 6 instances. Okay, totally, we do have 6 instances, but my application needs only 3 instances. Okay, my application needs only 3 instances. So remaining 3 instances is not needed. What I'm going to do, I'm going to scale out those BEC2 instances. Auto scaling groups, just the same thing. And if I have only one single EC2 instances, but my application needs 3 EC2 instances, auto scaling groups can able to scale down the next 2 EC2 instances, which can match to the actual size or the desired capacity of the application, what we're going to do it. So it can do both, like scaling up the EC2 instances and scaling down the EC2 instances. And if your EC2 instance has failed, right? Say the EC2 instance running has been failed, it will automatically delete the EC2 instance and will create a new EC2 instance also, right? Guys, getting about it? So this is what the stuff behind it. So in where you can able to load your websites and application change. The goal of an auto scaling groups, as I said, scaling out, like adding the EC2 instances, removing the EC2 instances, ensuring that if you have a minimum and maximum number of machines running, and it will also replace the unhealthy instances as well. And this is the diagram we'll show you with ASG with load balancer, where load balancer balances the incoming traffic based on the incoming traffic which has been attached to the auto scaling groups. It will either scale up the EC2 instances or scale down the EC2 instances, right? So that's the summary, what we are looking for. We talked in the last class, we talked about Elastic Compute Cloud, where EC2 is a virtual server offering a service. We talked about EC2 instance type for the particular use cases. And we talked about security groups, which is a firewall to EC2 instances, and the EC2 instances purchasing options. And we said for which particular use case we're going to use it. And Elastic Block Store, EBS volumes, which is a block store for EC2 servers. And we talked about snapshots to archive it and scale it for other availability zones, and EFS file system, which has been attached to your EC2 instances and other on-premises servers. Then we talked about high availability, scalability, and vertical scalability, horizontal scalability, and we've gone on to scaling, availability, agility. Then we talked about load balances, elastic load balances, and finally with your auto scaling groups. All right. So before going into S3, I'm gonna give you a bit basic behind S3, and we're gonna talk about an entire summary behind the S3 with the databases, right? So before going for that, I would like to show you the Amazon console, right? So you might guys have a look. I had a look yesterday. So we do had a look at the Amazon management console yesterday. Okay. So I'll just show you the EC2 instances workflow because we have seen everything. So right now I am in Mumbai region, right? You can able to go with any kind of region what we have. Let's create a new EC2 instance. I'm gonna launch an instance. Okay, are you guys seeing my screen?
We're just seeing your PPT.
Oh, now you guys can able to see my management console, right?
Yes, we can.
So go to EC2 instances. In the left-hand side, you can able to see the instances, right? And you can go to launch the EC2 instance. Just give a sample name. You're gonna give you an overview. I'm not gonna create it, but I'm gonna show you what is the thing we are gonna have it, right? So this is my first EC2 instances. And the next thing, it will ask you for the application or OS image, Amazon Mission image, right? That's the application or OS. So it will have a lot of categories. You could able to see, right? Debian OS, Windows, Ubuntu, Mac OS, or Amazon Linux. Amazon Linux 2023 is in very free one. Windows, Microsoft Windows Server 2022 base or Ubuntu. So this is what it is free, right? So I'm gonna choose Amazon Linux. Amazon Linux 2023 AMI, which is a free trial eligible. It will ask you for the architecture, whether you have to use an x86 or ARM, but I'm going to use those things. It will ask you for the instance type. We just talked about instance type, right? So T2.micro is the free tier eligible, and it will ask you a key pair. Okay, so whether you have to proceed with a key pair or without a key pair is important to connect your EC2 instance using SSH from your Windows or PuTTY software or Linux from Linux. So I'm going to proceed without a key pair, but because that answer will be showed there. And you're supposed to create a security group. Say you want to create a launch resort 3, or you're going to select the existing security group. I already have an existing security group called as launch resort 1, and it will going to give you what type of, and if you want to create a new security group, that's also okay, right? You can able to it will give you the basic stuff, whether it is allow the SSH traffic or HTTP traffic or HTTPS traffic. Okay, and let's go for the configuration storage. It will ask you the number of gigabytes of GP3 root volume needed. We're going to have 8 gigabytes of volume. And finally, let's get back to the advanced details, and you could able to see a user data script which is available. This user data script is a script where, okay, this user data script is a script where you need to add, and you need to have the what can I say, the entire EC2 user data. I'll just show you how the EC2 user data will look like. Okay, so how the EC2 user data will look like. This is how an EC2 user data will look like. Okay, okay, where it's a bash command. What I'm gonna do something where I'm gonna install the HTTPD server, start the HTTP server, and enable the HTTP server for our application. Then I'm just gonna print an one line hello world from the host name to the index.html. Okay, everything is done, right? I've chosen everything clearly. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna launch the EC2 instance. It will take some time. Yes, it has been launched. I'm gonna go for the instances. I'm gonna roll it back. Okay, these two instances are terminated. Don't see that. It will automatically delete it after a while. Let's wait for a while until this funding stage. Now, now the EC2 instances is running. You could able to click this EC2 instances, and you can able to see down, like it will show you all those things like the public IP address, which can be served as an input to the thing. All right, and we do also have a private IPv4 address, the instance rate, the public IPv4 DNS, instance type, whether you have attached any elastic IP or not, and it will have also have the status in alarm, monitoring the types of CPU utilization your work on it. This is the network part, like under which VPC it is having, and what does the ENI has it. Come back to security group, you could able to see we do have the inbound rules. Like here, the inbound rules, we do have only 80. So I'm just gonna make some changes to the security group now. Let's get back to the security group, and I'm gonna edit the inbound rule. Okay, this inbound rule is gonna take an HTTP traffic from the other things. Okay, that's the security from the security group. So to the security group to the from the security group, but I'm gonna add another thing like from HTTP. Can I able to find HTTP? HTTP, yes, HTTP traffic, and anywhere IPv4, and I'm gonna have an HTTPS too. Or I don't want this. Okay, let's save the rules. Now we could able to see it actually doesn't work. Why? Because it's an HTTPS, and before it was different. Let me run it. You could able to see yes, it is comes. So now it runs the application and provides it from the same IP 172.31.3.12. And even if you have a look at your EC2 instances, there will be a same IP 172.31.3 and 12, right? Through public IP, we are just had a code to write a public IP, private IPv4 address, and yes, we are good to go with this thing. Okay, so even you can run it here itself. Right, I'm just removing it. Okay, so it's worked. Right, guys. So this is the EC2 instance, and to get practice, I'm gonna terminate the EC2 instance to make sure that it will not give you a cost. And you can also use this public IP. I can also share this public IP, okay, to you, where you can also enable it. But I'm sorry, I just terminated it. You can also work it out. And these are the different types of instance types, what I said, right? You can able to T2.nano, T2.large, everything, where you can able to work on it, right? And someone is asking ELB, right? So ELB, I just got a question. One doubt, ELB is global or not. ELB is not global, okay? If even if you choose the elastic load balancer, create a load balancer, it will ask you what type of load balancer you're supposed to create. Whether you have to create an application load balancer or network load balancer or gateway load balancer. Haven't said you what type there are different. So there are three different types of load balancer, guys. Okay, that is application load balancer, network load balancer, and gateway load balancer. Okay, there was one something before called as classic load balancer, but right now classic load balancer is not available. Please don't use that thing. So it's not global. It depends upon the regions, what your it's region specific, right? Do you have any other questions in EC2 instances and server compute level services? Or else shall we move into S3? That script, uh, that script is majorly is an EC2 user data script. That script will enable you what type of service you want to install. It's nothing but the bootstrap script. I can able to get once I didn't terminate, rather I stopped the instance. Yes. What is the thing? Even if you stop the instances, it will not work. Why? Because the instance is stopped. You can't able to view the public IP. Okay, you can't able to use the application since the instance has been stopped. No, it will not cost you. Why? Because there will be why? Because you could able to see two EC2 instance has been stopped a year. Okay, in my thing. So it will not cost you. But it's a good practice. I would always say once you have experimented it, please try to terminate the EC2 instances. Okay, why? Because that EC2 instances, why? Because since you have been stopped, the private IP will be still be in the remaining stage. Okay, that private IP will might you be a cost, but actually it won't do those things. But if the private IP is more sophisticated for you, say if it is more sophisticated for you, then it will automatically cost you. But it's a good practice. Please dominate with it. Any other questions in EC2 instances stuff? Which one? Which hours? The pricing hours. Are you asking about the pricing hours for EC2 instances? Okay, let's go back and check the documentation. So EC2 instances pricing. You can use this thing, but it depends upon actually, right? I would say the type of instances. Why? Because more clearly there will be giving, right? What if you choose the on-demand instance, say for T4.G Nano, on-demand hourly rate is 0.0042. But for elastic IP also, we are supposed to pay, guys. Okay, and for elastic load balancing also, you're supposed to pay. I'll do one thing. I will push this thing into your chat. Have a look. This will have all those stuff. Okay, whether it is that's what I said, right? When I talked about EBS volumes. When I talked about EBS volumes, I said how much heart is free. Free tire for 30 gigabytes, not for hours. Good to go, guys. Do you have any doubts rather than this? Any questions? Please try to respond in chat because I need to know whether you have any questions or we can able to move to what may you say S3 then.
I don't have any questions.
Yes. Okay. Connected my EC2 to Mobax term. Okay, I'm sorry. What Mobax term is all about? EC2 to Linux. Okay, you're gonna have a Linux EC2 instances. Okay. per month. Oh my God, 3. Oh my God, 3 months. How much the cost you got it? You might be able to see that in your billing section, right? Go ahead and check, have a look at the billing sections. Go to billing and billing console. Just type billing console here. I'll just show you how to do it. You could able to see your account. Billing and cost management will be available. You can check the billing and cost for the monthly payments. What you able to see over here. Okay, you can just check and drag based on the service, based on the account. Okay, and you can also analyze your cost in the cost explorer, and you can also have a look from the date range how much cost has been allocated. These things. Right? Have a look. But for 3 months, it will actually cost you a lot. Right? That's what I always say. Okay, whenever you're doing it, have a very keep have an eye on it. Okay, after doing it, please delete it. Okay, okay. Now let's get into the stuff. Like so far, we have seen the compute level service. Now we're gonna see a storage level service. The first, I would say, this is the first service which was released by Amazon, right? Okay, recently Amazon S3 had a birthday, but I don't know which years. I don't know what year it is. This is the first service released by Amazon Web Services, like Amazon S3, the simple storage service. Okay, so Amazon S3 is the infinite. What can you say? It's an building blocks of AWS, and it has an infinitely scaling storage. The bucket size is infinite, but the object size is finite, where you do have some kind of configurations. And right now, many websites use the Amazon S3 as a backbone. Okay, and you could be able to see lot of AWS services can use S3 as an integration, because integrating S3 with others AWS services is going to be very easy, very simple. All right. And what are the use cases? I've just given you some what may I say links. Have a look like how Adidas and Shutterstock are using Amazon S3, but they're not using directly S3. There are a lot of features of S3, but we're just going to see only the base of it. So you can able to use it for backup and storage, disaster recovery, right? Because S3 also have the replication stuff. Archive it, like we do have S3 Glacier to archive it. We also have an hybrid cloud storage application hosting, where you can able to host your application inside Amazon S3, media hosting. And if you want to have a data lake, subject data analytics, you can also connect to with Amazon S3 and static website, which is also a very important feature. Right now, let's talk about S3 bucket. Like say, I would for the better understanding, S3 bucket is a repository where you store all the files. Here, the files are nothing but the objects. But don't think it like a repository. Even the UI, like what we have right in S3 console UI, it will have a look like a repository, but it's not actually the repository, right? So S3 buckets are nothing but the directories where you use this directory to store the objects inside it, either to the file, media, all those things. And S3 bucket, right? S3 buckets can be created at the region level, but the bucket name should be unique around global. Like that means in all the regions, on all accounts, the bucket name should be unique. Do you know why it is? Just think about the answer and answer it in the chat. Let's have a look at the last. Okay, why the name of the bucket should be global, but the bucket is being deployed in the what may I say in the region stuff like that. Okay, and the buckets are defined at the region level. As I said, S3 is a global service, but the bucket is created in the region specific. Have a look. S3 is a global service. I'll just highlight this. S3 is a global service. Sorry, I don't have my pencil right now because S3 is a global service, but buckets created are region specific. And naming conventions. When you're naming your S3 buckets, have a look, right? It should not have any uppercase or lowercase. And it doesn't, it should not have any uppercase, no underscore. The name of the bucket should be 3 to 63 characters long. It should not be an IP. must start with a lowercase letter or a number, must not start with the prefix of xn, must not end with the suffix or sali. So they do have some prefix naming convention where you are supposed to follow. Okay. And S3 objects, as I said, these are the things which is being stored inside your S3 bucket. The files stored in the S3 bucket are going to be termed as S3 object, and you could able to see the objects have a key where the key is the full path. This is the path of myfile.txt, which is being stored inside the my bucket. And if you have any folders in the my bucket, say my folder one, another folder, and inside the another folder you have a myfile.txt, txt, then the whole key is going to be this thing, right? From my bucket, st my bucket slash my folder slash another folder, myfile.txt. Okay, key is nothing but the prefix plus the object name. Don't get confused. As I said, there is no concept of directories in st bucket, but the working console will trigger you like that. And just keys with a very long name that contains the slashes, as I said. So make sure to name this thing. Keys are nothing but the prefix. Prefix is nothing but s3 colon double slash. This is the prefix. I'll show you in the different color. This is the prefix with this thing, well, because the bucket name, and this is the object. Okay, so this is the prefix, this is the object. Okay, have a look at those things. And what you need to know more in your objects, as I said, buckets are infinitely stored, infinitely scalable, but the objects are not infinitely scalable. So the objects are the values or the contents of the body. The maximum size of the bucket is unlimited, infinite, and the maximum object size is 5 terabytes, right? That is 5,000, merely 5,000 gigabytes, right? If you're uploading more than 5 gigabytes, then you are supposed to use a multi-part upload. Make sure to know those things. It will be testing you in the interview point of view. If uploading more than 5 gigabytes, then you are supposed to use a multi-part cloud. The maximum object size is 5 terabytes, which is 5,000 gigabytes. And objects will have these metadata, say the metadata data about the data, which also have the tags and the versioning ID if the versioning is being enabled. Okay, so this is all about S3. Before going into S3, before going into the database, the last section of today's class, I'll show you S3 console and how to work in it, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna show you how to store it. But other stuff like static website hosting has not been shown right now because you won't understand those things in a very to behavior. Let's go to S3. I do have already some buckets, right? But I'm not gonna do those things. I'm gonna create a bucket. That bucket name is something a sample, which doesn't have an underscore. CDP underscore. Today date is 5/5, so I'm gonna say 5/5. So the bucket will be created in Asia Pacific Mumbai 1. Leave all those things. I'm not going to just touch that. Let's create a bucket. Now the bucket has been created. Say the sample CDP bucket 0505. Now this will look almost looking like a file management point of view. You can upload it. I'm just going to add some files. Okay, say this I'm going to have use this thing, this thing, this thing. Okay, add these three images, and you could able to see the upload button, upload it, and you could able to go to the bucket. You could able to see those three objects. So these are the three objects. These are the three image objects, and you can also see the object URL. If you just click the object URL and put it over here, you can't able to see it, but because the access is denied for you. Okay, but I'll do one thing. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just stop my stop the sharing it now. But I'll show you so there are two more options you can able to do, guys. Okay, what you can do is nothing but I'm just gonna make sure to do those things. Now, I've done something else, right? I've done something else. If you read on this code, you could be able to see the image, right? So to know those things, what I've done, I've just done in a very simple, quick way, right? Say I've done something, right? Added ACLs, make public, block public access. I've done something else extra, right? I've done those things. So to understand all those things, you need to know like what is the solution architecture behind it, right? So that's the stuff, right? So I was just asking you to do those things, right? So this is how S3 will look like. Now, let's have a look at the databases, the final concept of today, right? So so let's talk about the summary of S3. So we talked about buckets, we talked about objects which are stored in S3 bucket, the S3 secure. So we have not talked about this. Let me show you. Now let's the databases summary. I'm just going to give you an overview of the databases what we have. The first thing is relational database, okay, which is the RDS, the relational database service, Aurora, which is an in-place databases provided by Amazon Web Services, Elastic Cache for cache level databases with multiple availability zones in multiple regions. Then we have a non-relational databases, say our DynamoDB, which is used to store the non-relational contents, the NoSQL pair, and DAX, which accelerate the performance of the DynamoDB. DocumentDB is a service which has been created by Amazon Web Services to support the MongoDB. Warehouse, Redshift is a service which is used for data warehousing. EMR, Elastic MyPreduce is a service which is used for big data. Dashboards to create a quick to create a business intelligence dashboard you can use to work with QuickSight. Then QLDB is used for quantum ledger database. You have an transaction ledger, blockchain data, managed blockchain if you work with some kind of something like you can work with the blockchain. And Glue is used for ETL, like the extract, transform, load, extract the data from source, transform the data, and load to the associated destination. Neptune is used for graph database and data migration, where you can use for DMS instances, right? So that's the end of today, right? I've shown you the base stuff. Okay, we are talked about everything today. Now the session is open for you, and if you have guys any doubts in both what may I say sessions, what we're going to cover, as well as the thing what we have covered today, like the sessions what we have covered yesterday, the sessions what we have covered today, and moreover, the questions which has been asked yesterday, if I haven't answered, please try to put the same question today. I'll try to answer it today. And moreover, and do you have any doubts regarding the AWS Solution Architects batch, which is upcoming in CDP Networks? If you have any doubts, how it is gonna go, and what other things will be covered, everything stuff like that. If you have any questions, any queries, feel free to ask. I'm here to answer to you. Right? The question is following. So, which services are global and which services are local? There are almost 432 services available. Okay, IAM is a global service. Okay, S3 is a global service, but S3 buckets are not global, they are regional level. Okay, there are 432 services available. Okay, you could able to check those things and we can able to have a very good overview. Right? Any questions you have, guys? Okay, if you have any questions, I'll be staying here around 11:40. Okay, I'll be staying here almost another 15 more minutes. Okay, any questions regarding today's class, yesterday's questions, if you want to ask, feel free to ask today. Okay? No, if you have any doubts, you can ask, right? So I'll be there till 11:40. Right? The class is done. The topics which is we want to cover is done. Okay. If you want to ask any questions regarding the solution architect batch or the questions which has been asked yesterday, but I'm sorry if I haven't answered yesterday, right? Want to ask same questions today, ask me so that I can able to answer for you.
So total, how many sessions will be there?
20. So totally we'll be having 40 hours of session for the solution architect, right? So more approximately to 40 will be I think so you might got the what may I say syllabus for the AWS solution architect batch. Okay, so which will cover almost 13 chapters if I'm not guess. Okay, today what We're going to see some deep dive inside with some kind of hands-on, right? Both CLI and AWS Management Console, and we'll be doing much more deeper things like S3, relational databases, DynamoDB, serverless, CloudWatch, and VPC stuff like that.
And the timings will be same 10 to 12 only.
Yes, it is.
Suppose that post the syllabus, will be able to give the exams. The syllabus will be covered. It will be easy to appear for that exam.
No, I'm not getting you correctly. Can you just say it one more time?
So this syllabus will complete all the contents of AWS Architect exam, right?
Yes, it is.
So the exam, we will be able to give the exam without any difficulties, right?
Yes, it is. Right. I'll be giving you some sample questions at the end of the class with sample POC stuff too. Okay. But you need to prepare, right? Unless until if you won't prepare, that solution actually will be tough for me.
So mostly in your course content, most of the things will be practical, or it will be more of the theoretical part?
Both practical and theoretical. Why? Because unless until if you don't understand the theory behind it, you can't able to do the practical. First, what I'll do, Sadiq, but I'll just give you the base stuff. What are the things to be covered? After that, the practical sessions will be. Did you get the syllabus from the CDP team?
I'll just check. Maybe they have sent. I'll just check the old WhatsApp messages, or I'll take it again from that concerned thing.
They can also send one more time too. So if you just request them, they'll also send.
Okay. So today's part is over, right? We can leave, no?
Yes. If you don't have any questions, you can leave. No issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys. I think so. You guys don't have questions. I don't know. Yes, are you there?
Ali is here from CDP.
Yeah. So I think so. People doesn't have any questions. So may I make a leave? May I leave right now? Or let's wait for another 5 more minutes so that they want to ask any questions. And they are asking for the syllabus, and please send the syllabus to me. Okay. 40 hours. 40 hours. Approximately, it is going to be 40 hours. 20 sessions will be covered.
Hello everyone. My name is Ali, and I am in charge of sales and marketing at CDP Networks. We will be conducting live training sessions starting on May 11th. If you are interested, we are offering a pre-booking deal until May 10th. As a special offer, the first 10 customers to sign up will receive a free pre-recorded video when they purchase. Okay, to pre-book your spot, please complete the form using the link given below. Thank you for your time.
Okay, guys. So let me leave. Thank you, everyone, for joining. So let's meet everyone at the AWS Solution Architect Bash. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.